Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschata Vishatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Harinam Chintamani. How many of you know the meaning of the name Harinam Chintamani? What's the meaning of this word or this title? Chintamani means, and Harinam means simple. Huh? The touchstone of the holy name. The holy name is a touchstone. What does touchstone do? There are two types of touchstone. One is touchstone in the material world and touchstone in the spiritual world. In the touchstone in the material world, what does it do? By its touch, it turns ordinary metal into gold. And in the spiritual world, the touchstone, what does the touchstone do? In the spiritual world, just by its touch, it makes one into a pure devotee. Now what is more precious? Gold or pure devotion? Are you sure? Yes. That is the right understanding. Compared to pure devotion, what to speak of gold? All the wealth of this material nature amounts to nothing. Pure devotion is symbolized by tulasi leaf. In a balance, in one side, if you put tulasi leaf, and on the other side, you put all the wealth of this world, which side will become heavier? And just one tulasi leaf. And it will be so heavy, tulasi leaf, the other. In balance, what happens? There are two sides. Now, of course, you don't use that kind of balance. You have weighing machine and all that. But generally, there are balance. One side you put the weight, the other side you put the thing, and that's how you measure it. That's how you weigh it. So, one side, the light side, that has the tulasi leaf, that will be so heavy that the other side, you keep on putting all the wealth of this world, still it won't budge. Tulasi leaf will just remain heavy. Meaning, compared to pure devotion to the Lord, all the wealth of this material nature is totally insignificant. So that is what we have to understand. Sometimes we, or not sometimes, often, we don't really realize the value of this holy name, value of pure devotional service. We take it for granted. Sometimes we think that, it's not really that important. As a spiritual master, often we come across this very pathetic situation. The devotees, in spite of taking the vow of chanting 16 rounds, they don't chant their rounds. So I have to constantly remind them, this is a vow that we have taken. And this chanting is done in two ways, japa and kirtan. And when this kirtan is done collectively, that is called sankirtan. And this Sankirtan is the Juga Dharma of this age. Is the Yuga Dharma of this age, Dharma of this age. What is the meaning of Dharma? Dharma is the means that will take us back to the spiritual world. Performance of Dharma means, again, Dharma has two aspects, material aspect and the spiritual aspect. Material aspect of Dharma, performance of Dharma gives us piety. But the spiritual aspect of Dharma situates us in our constitutional position, makes us what we actually are. What are we? What are we? We are pure spirit souls. So, Dharma is meant to situate us in our spiritual identity, freeing us from all our material bondage, freeing us from all this material influence. Dharma situates us in our spiritual identity. And this particular Yuga Dharma is very special. This particular Yuga, Kali Yuga, is very special because just prior to this Kali Yuga, at the end of Dwapar Yuga, Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, came. What's the difference between Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Narayan, who is understood to be the Lord of Vaikuntha and the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Krishna's situation is even higher than Narayan's, because Narayan is an expansion of Krishna. Krishna is not an incarnation. Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. This point has been clarified in Srimad Bhagavatam. Towards the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, different incarnations have been described. Varaha, Kurma, Matsya. There are 6 different types of incarnations of the Lord. Purushavatar, the Vishnus, Karanadokshay Vishnu, Garbhodokshay Vishnu, and Kshirodokshay Vishnu. These 3 are Purushavatars. Leelavatars, different pastimes of the Lord that he has. Nishingha, Varaha, Kurma. These are the Leelavatars. Then Yugavatars, there are different Yugas. And for each Yuga the Lord comes as Yugavatar. Satta, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. There are 4 different Yugavatars. Sheta, Rakta, Tatha, Pita, Idaning, Krishna, Tangata. Garga Muni revealed it to Nanda Maharaj. Then Manvantar avatars. There are different Manus. There are 14 Manus in a day of Brahma. And as the Manu changes, the demigods change. And Krishna also comes in different Manvantar avatars, different Manvantar as a specific way, in a specific way as avatar. So that is called Manvantar avatar. In this Manvantar, Vaivashvata Manvantar, the Manvantar avatar is Vamandev. Then Shaktavesh avatar. The Lord empowers certain personalities. They are jivas, but he empowers them to perform some specific mission. So they are known as Shaktavesh, like Prithu Maharaj, Vyasdev, Narad Muni. They are different empowered incarnations. So these are Manvantar, Shaktavesh avatars. So did I get all Purusha-avatar, Leela-avatar, Juga-avatar, Manvantar-avatar, Shaktavish-avatar, and Guna-avatar. There are three modes of material nature and different personalities. The Lord's different incarnations take care of them, different avatars. As Vishnu, he takes care of mode of goodness, as Brahma, mode of passion, and as Lord Shiva, the mode of ignorance. So these are 6 types of avatars and there are innumerable incarnations. Avatar hi ashankhayo, but Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. There are innumerable incarnations, but ete changsha kala funksha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. They are amsas and they are kalas. But Krishna is the Swayam Bhagavan, original Supreme Personality of God. So what is the identity of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead? He is the son of Nanda Maharaj and he resides in Vrindavan. Aradho Bhagavan Brajeshwa Tanai. He is the son of Nanda Maharaj. And Stadhama Vrindavanam. His abode is Vrindavan. So the Krishna of Vrindavan is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. That original Supreme Personality of Godhead comes only once in a day of Brahma. In a day of Brahma there are 14 Manus. The 7th Manu is Vaivashata Manu. In 7th Manu's 28 Chaturjugas, Dwapar Yuga, towards the end, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead comes. And then, in the Kali Yuga, following Kali Yuga, he comes as a devotee. So appearance of Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, doesn't take in every Yuga. Although he said Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, but they are his incarnations that Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. The original Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, comes only once in a day of Brahma. And a day of Brahma comprises of 1000 Chaturjugas. One day of Brahma consists of 1000 Chaturjugas, and in 1000 Chaturjuga Krishna. And that happened just recently, 5,000 years ago. He came. And then, in order to reveal his identity, who this Krishna is, in order to make us understand, Krishna comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, doesn't come every yuga or so frequently. He comes only once in a blue moon. Once in a day of Brahma. And then comes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also doesn't come in every yuga. And in order to understand how to approach him, how to get him, how to understand him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals his holy name. This holy name, Krishna, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is not indicating just the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is revealing the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this original Supreme Personality of Godhead resides in Vrindavan, and of all his pastimes with the gopis is the highest, most exalted. And among all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is his eternal consort. So this holy name, what is this Hare Krishna Mahamantra giving us? Hare Krishna Mahamantra is revealing the identity of Radha and Krishna. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is actually signifying Radha Krishna. And now another way to look at it also, uh, Radha Krishna, they are two, right? Krishna and his Ladini Shakti, pleasure-giving potency. And this pleasure potency is personified as Srimati Radharani. And when Radha and Krishna become one, the energy and energetic, Radha, energy, pleasure potency, and Krishna, the energetic. So energy and energetic, Radha and Krishna become together. They become one. Isn't energy and energetic one? Although they can be separated. So when they become one, then what happens? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So again, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is indicating Radha Krishna, and Hare Krishna Mahamantra is also indicating Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, ultimately. And the perfection of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the perfection of chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is giving us Krishna Prema. Again we go back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why did he come? Namo Mahavadannaya Krishna Prema Pradayati. To give us Krishna Prema. And how do we achieve that Krishna Prema? Through this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So you can understand how important this book is. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote this book based on the manuscripts, which is actually the notes one of Haridas Thakur's disciples had taken, or he written down. Haridas Thakur's teachings was found by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the form of this manuscript. Those days, the books were not so readily available. Printing was a very rare thing. Even about 150 years back, printing was quite rare. "500 years back, even paper was so rare. Sometimes I feel so guilty that we use these tissues to wipe our nose. And when I have to wipe my hand, just one tissue is not enough. I pull out 3 tissues. But you know how rare these papers used to be. About 500 years ago, when the king of India, Akbar, he was very much impressed with Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami's wisdom. Akbar was actually although he was a Muslim ruler, but he was very broad-minded. He had very deep encounter with the Hindu saints. Like sometimes he even went to Vrindavan. In his assembly, there was a famous singer, Tansen. One day Akbar was glorifying Tansen for his musical talent. So Tansen said, "What are you hearing me? I wish you heard my guru." Who was his guru? Haridas. Not Haridas Thakur, but another Haridas. So Akbar said, "Can I listen to him? Listen to him? Can you please ask him to come to our court and we could listen?" He said, "No, he's not going to come here. Can I go to him and listen to him?" "No, he's not going to sing for you. Although you are the king of entire India practically, he's not going to listen to you. Please make some arrangement So he said, okay, I'll give it a try. So Tansen and Akbar went to Vrindavan. And so naturally he couldn't ask his Guru, Guru Maharaj, can you please sing for me? That would be a transgression of etiquette. So he made Akbar hide behind a bush. And mind you, although he was the monarch of India, he was so humble. Just to listen to this singing of Haridas Thakur, Haridas, Saint Haridas, he took such a humble position. He was hiding behind the bush just to listen to him. And Haridas started to sing, Tansen started to sing in front of Haridas. And deliberately he made a mistake in a note while singing. And his Guru said, what's happening? That's wrong. That's not the way it should be. Guru Maharaj, can you please show me out? And then Haridas Thakur started to sing. So that is how Akbar could listen to his singing. Anyway, those days were a wonderful period actually. The Goswamis were here. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just was also blessed this world. And Haridas Thakur was one of them. It has been pointed out that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented his teachings through various personalities. From Ramananda Rai came the description of rasas. You know what rasas mean? Rasas mean mellows that make us develop relationship and enjoy different types of exchanges. There are 5 principal mellows and 7 secondary mellows. The principal mellows are Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Madhu. And 7 these principal mellows are called Sthai Bhav. They are fixed. Like say for example, one who is situated in Dasya relationship with Krishna. These 5 principal mellows are basis of relationship. And on those, like, they are fixed. One who is related to Krishna in servitorship, he'll always remain in that situation. This is not changeable. They're fixed. Therefore, they're called sthai, permanent. Really, permanent mellows. And they are shanta, neutrality. And those who are meditating on Krishna but not rendering service, they are in Shantaras. Those who are rendering service to Krishna as a servant, they are in Dasya. Those who have developed friendship with Krishna, they are in Sakhya, friendship. Those who are related to Krishna as his parents, they are in Vatsalya. And those who are related to Krishna as his girlfriends, they are Madhu. So, and these are the 5 principal mellows and the 7 secondary mellows. Secondary mellows are hashya, laughter. What makes you laugh? Joke. So these are joking, hashya, adbhut, wonder, surprise. Veera, chivalry. Rodra, anger. bibhatsa, ghastly, bhayana, frightening, and korun, pathos. So these are the 7 secondary mellows, what are called sanchari. They change. These mellows change. From wonder it can be surprise, or from wonder it can be laughter. This is how these mellows, from anger it can be pathos. It can change. From pathos it can be laughter, like that. So they are sanchari. So Rupa Goswami explained these rasas. Through Rupa, let's put it this way, through Rupa Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the rasa tattva, the descriptions of rasa. Through Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the description of liberation, real liberation. Difference between impersonal liberation and Vaikuntha liberation. From Rupa Goswami, the description of rasa came from Ramananda Rai, and from Rupa Goswami came the analysis of different rasas. Description of different rasas and analysis of different rasas came from Rupa Goswami. And from Haridas Thakur came the glory of the holy name. So, in a way we can say Rasacharya is Rupa Goswami and Namacharya is Haridas Thakur. So he explained the identity and the glory of the holy name. So now you know that Krishna's energy, although it is various, there are many types of energies Krishna has. Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Shruyate. But they are classified in 3 categories. Internal potency, external potency, and marginal potency. The spiritual world is Krishna's internal potency, Antaranga Shakti. This material nature is Krishna's external potency, Bahiranga Shakti. Bahiranga, external. And the jivas, the living entities, are marginal. What is the meaning of the word marginal? In your notebook, do you use the expression margin? So, margin means that is the line that is separating the spiritual and material. The material nature is in this side, spiritual nature is on that side of the margin. The Sanskrit word that has been used is called tatastha, thought, thought or rekha. On a river, there is thought. It is a line. The line that is separating the water from the land. So it's a line. This side of the line is water, that side of the line is land. This side of the line is spiritual, that side of the line is material. And jivas, living entities, are in the tatastha, in the margin. They are marginal potency of the Lord. Meaning, the jivas have the option to either remain in the spiritual world or remain in the material world. Now what is determining where side he will be? That's why the jivas have been given independence. Living entities have the independence. It's up to them. Sometimes people ask, why did Krishna put us in this condition? Why Krishna is not taking us back to Godhead? The answer is, it's your own doing. You wanted to be here, that's why you are here. And that also opens the other option. Why blaming Krishna for putting you here? It's up to you to go back there. If you desire, you can go back. Krishna is not interfering, because if he interfered, then how can it be considered to be independence? Our independence, our free will, it's our will, what we want. And as long as we say, oh, this world is so beautiful, and I do not want to leave this world, I do not want to die in this beautiful world, I want to be here forever. Okay, fine, stay here. So that is the option. It's up to us whether we want to stay here or whether we want to stay there. That is the living entity's, the personal volition. He can decide where he wants to be. Now, the thing is that somehow or other we ended up here. We do not know how we came here. And Prabhupada said, don't waste your time trying to figure out how you came here. The reality is you are here. Try to consider how you're going to get out of here. If you want to get out, that option is open. And that option is presented by Krishna. He has given that option. Although he doesn't want to interfere in our freedom, in our independence, but he is given that option. If you want to get out of here, the option is open to you. And that's why Krishna has given this holy name. Holy name is the means for us to get out of this material nature. And the question is how sincerely we are going to accept it. Whether we want to accept it or whether we want to reject it. At least here we have somehow or other accepted it. Now the question is how to become serious about it. How to become serious about it. Not just theoretically understand it, but don't apply us to it. Don't practice properly. So there comes the question of practicing. So the first consideration is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he has manifested himself as the holy name. So this holy name is Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the other personality expansions are his expansion. Saying there is no difference between Krishna and his incarnation. We should not think that Krishna is different from Ram or Ram is different from Narayan and so forth. No, there is no difference. Few examples can be given in that respect. What is the difference between original Supreme Personality of Godhead and his incarnation? Brahma Samhita is giving a very beautiful example in that respect. Deeparchireva hi dasantaram abhupetya. Just as one lamp lights another lamp. When the second lamp is lit, is there any difference between first lamp and second lamp? Then it lights the third lamp, fourth lamp, and so forth. So the first lamp is the original lamp that lit all the other lamps. And so that is the difference, if you can say, between his incarnations and Krishna himself. Krishna expands himself. First expansion, Balaram. In Vrindavan, Krishna's expansion, first expansion is Balaram. Then he expands as the Chaturbhuja of Dwarka. Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. Then from there he expands into Vaikuntha Narayan. And then Vaikuntha Narayan expands Mahavishnu, who lies in the causal ocean. This Vishnu aspect is in relation to the material creation. When Krishna decides to create this material world, material creation, then he expands as Vishnu. That is his purpose of Vishnu expansion. And then Mahavishnu lies in the causal ocean, and as he breathes, the bubbles that are generated are the universes. Then he enters into each universe as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. And then from his navel comes out Lotus and Brahma, the first created being in the universe, is situated. And then he further expands as Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, as the super soul of all the living entities in the universe. And that Kshirodakshayi Vishnu is the source of incarnations in the universe. All the incarnations in that particular universe is an expansion of Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. Now, will it be appropriate to consider that Krishna is an incarnation of Kshirodakshayi Vishnu? In a way, it's right also. Because in Krishna, all the incarnations are there. So since all the incarnations are there in Krishna, there is no harm in thinking that Krishna is an incarnation of Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. But that understanding is not the perfect understanding. The perfect understanding is Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead that has been revealed in Srimad Bhagavatam. As we just a little while ago, we mentioned that verse. What is that verse? Ete chansha kalapungsha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now you understand what the holy name actually is. The holy name is Radha Krishna. And when you see Radha Krishna, where are you? When you see Radha Krishna, are you here or you are there? Well, another example in that respect will be Brahma, by chanting Gayatri mantra that specially received, which is known as Gopal mantra. Brahma achieved his perfection. spiritual perfection. And when he achieved his spiritual perfection, then he saw. He saw the spiritual sky. Now did he was it something like Brahma was sitting there and Brahma was seeing the spiritual sky? No. From the descriptions that we get from Brahma Samhita, Brahma was transported to the spiritual world. So spiritual perfection is actually non-different from being transported to the spiritual sky. And there Brahma is seeing the spiritual world. Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpavriksha. He's seeing it. That's how he's seeing. Oh, this place where he appeared, where he came, that place was made of Chintamani. It's a forest, but they're kalpavrikshas. It's a forest of kalpavriksha. Innumerable trees are there, but all these trees are kalpavrikshas, desire trees. And surabhi rabhipalanam. Krishna is tending the cows, but all these cows are surabhi cows. And then he is seeing Krishna. Venum kanantam aravinda dhalayakaksham. He's playing flute, such a beautiful personality. And he is playing flute. And he's decorated with flower garland. He's wearing yellow garment, yellow dress. Then alolo chandra lasat banamalla vamsi. Angani jassa sakalindriya vrittimanti. His different limbs can perform different activities of different senses. So this is how Brahma is actually seeing Krishna, and that is the description in Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter. So transportation of spiritual sky. Spiritual perfection, when you become pure, we are transported there. And now the consideration is, when you see Krishna, what will you do? When you see Krishna, mind you, he is all attractive. So when you see the all attractive, can you possibly have any attraction for anyone else or anything else? When you see Krishna, will you be thinking will you be thinking of watching the TV, going to movie, going to restaurant? No. All those attractions will immediately disappear. Because you are facing the all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it will all happen just by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Just by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Only consideration is that the chanting is not just a matter of uttering the syllables. Chanting has to be backed by your consciousness. We can consider, when you are chanting, Krishna just appears. He does. With the chanting of the holy name, because this is not different from Krishna, chanting is Krishna. So when you are chanting, Krishna is there. But if you keep on thinking of various other things, oh, I forgot to submit my tax return. You're chanting Hare Krishna, but if your mind is thinking of various other things, then what will happen? Krishna will say, why did you call me? You called me, but what are you doing? Why aren't you saying what you want from me? Why don't you reciprocate with me? So that is why the chanting at the first place, we have to recognize what the holy name is, and the immediate next consideration is that we should chant with full attention, with the understanding that we are calling out to Krishna. Attentive chanting. Bandhamui sabodhano mati. The word sabodhana means, abodhan means perception, and abodhan means with perception, with attention. This holy name is Krishna himself. So as long as the chanting is inattentive, we won't get any benefit from that. So, and then, as you know, the offensive and the chanting can be done in 3 stages, 3 ways. One is offensive chanting. We are chanting, but we are not chanting the holy name. We are chanting the offensive. Then the clearing stage of chanting. The offenses are now being cleared. Anarthas are removed. Inattentions are getting better. Attention is getting better. The understanding is developing. So that is called the clearing stage of chanting, or Nam Abhash. Nam Abhash. Abhash means, as Prabhupada translated it as clearing. The other meaning also will be impression, Abhash. The impression, like you get the impression of the substance in 2 ways. One is through the shadow, and the other is through the reflection. The Chaya Namabhash or shadow Namabhash has been compared to the sun covered by cloud. So the sun is there in the sky, but if the cloud is there, will you be able to see the sun? Will the sun be manifest? No. That is called Chaya Namabhash, or shadow of the holy name. But one good thing about this is that if you keep on focusing, then gradually what will happen? The cloud will disappear and you will be able to see the sun. So this Chaya Namabhash is positive. But Pratibimba, reflection, is not positive. Because in reflection the real substance is not there. For example, in a reflection of a mango tree on water, you are seeing the mango tree, right? You are seeing the leaves of the mango tree, the mango fruits there, and you are very hungry. Can you get the fruit from the reflection? No. Similarly, the fruits of chanting the holy name we cannot get from the reflection Namabhas. Pratibimba Namabhas. And what is that reflection? Is the reflection, the impression of the tree is there, but is it will it, from the reflection, can we ever reach the tree? No. So this reflection is impersonalism. Thinking that ultimate absolute truth is impersonal Brahman. The holy name is going to give us Brahman realization. So if one maintains that attitude, then he will never get the benefit of the chanting of the holy name. As I said, from the reflection you cannot get the fruit. What do you need? What is our desire? Say you are hungry. You are hungry. At that time, what do you want? Do you want to just keep on watching the reflection of the mango tree? Or you want to see, you want to eat, get the fruit and eat it? Now, from the reflection, you will never get that. Your hunger will never be satisfied. And what are we hungry of? What is our real hunger? Our real hunger is for enjoyment, for joy. All we want is joy, anandam. Now the joy will come only from developing our loving relationship with Krishna. That is the fruit of the holy name. The purpose of chanting the holy name is to achieve that fruit. The fruit is prema. Nam will give us prema. There are three aspects of it: sambandha, abhidheya, and prayojan. The holy name also has these three aspects. Who is this holy name? Who is this holy name? Krishna himself. And what is our relationship with Krishna? Right. We have to develop that service attitude to the holy name. So, how do we serve the holy name? Can we offer prasad, bhoga to holy name? Can we offer ghee lamp to the holy name? Can we offer flowers to the holy name? The way to worship the holy name is by hearing. Shravanam. By hearing, we serve the holy name. By chanting, we serve the holy name. So that is the way. We chant. That is the thing, like 16 rounds we have to chant as a service to the holy name. Sitting together with devotees, singing the holy name is serving the holy name. Spreading the glory of the holy name, preaching about the holy name is service the holy name. So that is how we serve the holy name. We are the servants of the holy name, and that is how we have to serve the holy name. And the abhidheya, the means by which the holy name can be approached. And that again is service. Devotional service. Devotion. Service, when is an expression of our love, that is called devotion. We love him. We love Krishna. We love the holy name. And when we want to serve due to that love, that is called devotional service. So devotional service is the means. Relationship, the means, and prayojan. Sambandha, abhidheya, and prayojan. What is the necessity? What is the need that every living entity has? What is the craving that every living entity has? Every living entity is actually craving for his love for Krishna. That is his spontaneous craving. And when it is, when that craving is properly projected onto Krishna, then our heart becomes full of joy. Because prem gives us ananda. But when we are oblivious of Krishna, then what happens? Then that prem is projected onto other objects. Now, do they give real joy, real ananda? We want ananda out of prem, but if the prem is projected onto the other object other than Krishna, then it won't give us ananda. At the most, it can give us some sense pleasure. But that sense pleasure is only a reflection of actual ananda. That sense pleasure is a reflection and temporary, only for a short while. So that is the purpose of the holy name. We have to understand who, what, or I won't say even what, I'll say who, this holy name. Because the holy name is not an inert object or just sound. Holy name is Krishna himself. So, in a proper way is to address the holy name as He. That also with a capital H. Krishna. Abhinnatad nama namino. There is no difference. Abhinna means non-different. The name and the person. And what, as we discussed this morning, Anandam Buddhibardhanam. This Ananda, Ambudhi, an ocean. By chanting, we'll be submerged in an ocean of ecstasy, and that ocean will continue to grow more and more. It's an endless immersion, or rather submerging in an ocean of ecstasy that continues to expand continuously. Anyway, I could go on, but I think at this point I'll invite some questions.